go there. Right? I thought you were going to say they get confused on which left or right because they're thinking sometimes the attacker's left or right as opposed to their left or right, the way that they're facing. Yes?
Along with his question, you have to remember in Utah we're playing 11v11 at Utah.
Yes.
And so he and I coached together.
That's right. Hopefully I persuaded a little bit tonight.
Well, you did, but we don't have the power to control that unless
we're going to the AGM tomorrow on Saturday morning.
Yeah. So, along with that, I think, were you asking about system of play or formation, or just what to teach them?
Made strictly defense, if anything. Yeah, it seemed like we really focused a lot on the decision making, the attack, and what to do. And I think I understand that, but I just want to know what USY.
And I think it's a great point. I absolutely am with you. I don't think we spend enough time teaching intelligent, skillful defending. Absolutely, I agree with you. This is why last week at the NSCA convention, my session was on intercepting passes, because every other session is about combination play, finishing, typical things that you see at clinics.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, that part's really important.
So if we're going to split 60-40, 70-30, offensive skill ball work as opposed to defending?
At under 12, I might go 70-30. Because I'm still at an age where I'm still really engaged with the toy. Right? It's not as much of a toy to me as it was when I was 6 or 8, but it's still, I really want to play a lot with the ball as opposed to off-the-ball stuff. And defending is off-the-ball stuff. Right? Even the first defender is off the ball until the moment that I actually go for it. And certainly second defender is all off-the-ball stuff. And so it's just a lot of hard work and decision-making. So I would say maybe 70% of my work is on attacking, skills and tactics. 30% of my work is on defending, skills and tactics. One here.
Tell me about the philosophy of winning as opposed to developing players. So you have the coach over here that says, everybody go play, you go play where you want, let's all just have fun, who cares? And then you have Vince Lombardi on this side. Tell me on what spectrum and what age is appropriate.
I think from under 6 on through over 50, players are trying to win.
From U6 on?
There's nothing wrong with trying to win.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with striving to play your best. The intent of the game is to try to score more goals than the other team and to keep the other team from scoring goals. So there's nothing wrong. We've never said that there's anything wrong with trying to win. It's trying to win at all cost. That's an issue. That's now you're going too far. When it inhibits or diminishes or deters the development of the players, that's when winning is out of proportion. Right? When I've got a team of a bunch of under 14s and Sam doesn't get the play. Sam's on the bench 90% of the season because the same 11, 12, 13, 14 kids, the best players, are always playing. That's when it's out of proportion, when I'm not developing my whole team. Doesn't mean that when I'm out there, we're not trying to play our best and trying to win the game. Yes. But the balance is, will I be willing to allow them to learn how to deal with the ball bowled out of the back from the goalkeeper and maybe coughing up a goal now and then as they learn it, or I'm just going to boot it downfield because I want to win the game and I'm so afraid of losing. Well, if it goes to that extreme, I've got to come back a little bit in order to be able to develop the players. Right? But development also isn't laissez-faire. Everybody just do whatever you want. That's also an extreme that I don't agree with. Right? I think we should always be trying to develop and train our players to be the best that they can be and to grow within the game. And there was another one, yes.
Some years ago, 20, 30 years ago, most of the teams used to use a sweeper. The game evolved, and most of the teams now don't have sweepers. I haven't seen the team with a super long time ago. What do you think about that? And is it that we should continue teaching the game, having no sweeper, and just encourage to play in the younger age groups? If we're playing 2-3-2 and the opponent is playing 2-3-2, to to keep playing those two defenders versus those two forwards. And although we do have a second defender, it depends where the ball is, no need to have a man playing always as a sweeper.
Part of the idea, and I'm glad you brought it up, behind for U12, the 8-a-side game at U12 of 2-3-2, is it gives those one-to-one matchups all across the field. That accelerates development. That's a concept that we stole and agreed with the Dutch. And in the 11-a-side game, the Dutch, in their youth teams, everybody plays a 3-4-3. So that you've got these one-on-one matchups all across the field to accelerate development. Right? And I agree with that as well. So we do advocate in ODP, when we get into 11-a-side, 3-4-3. With the girls, we advocate that for a longer period of time, up to an older age group. With the boys, we get into a 4-4-2 earlier, like at 15, because they're getting to where they can ping 60-yard balls, 50-yard balls, diagonally behind defenses, and so you need that wider spread of defenders across the back to cover space in the back line. Right? But prior to that, a 3-4-3. And with the girls, 3-4-3, perhaps through 17 as a developmental component. So one there, one here. Won't forget.
It's a training question, just encouraging kids to have that winning mentality. When you talk about the winning mentality and training, how does that, as a trainer, how do you push that? I mean, I see people show up with written training plans. I see people show up and kind of do a whatever comes naturally type of approach. What are best practices that are in terms of encouraging trainers to exact the best they can out of the kids and make it comfortable for their kids with the right amount of training pressure?
It's a matter of developing within young people both how to compete and how to cooperate. And that within my group, within my team, I have to cooperate in order to compete. So one of the things that needs to happen in the training environment is to begin to use more often than not, maybe all the time, game-like activities as opposed to drills. Drills don't develop competitiveness. Drills allow for rote repetition, particularly in regards to particular ball skill, but even that is not fully transferable to the game because it doesn't occur in a drill the way that it occurs in a game. So here's an example. If I'm working a training session on shooting, well, the way that a lot of coaches have taught shooting over the years has been, okay, kids get in the line, there's the goal. The coach is over here with all the balls. The coach makes a little square pass. The kid at the front of the line runs up, takes a shot on goal, goes to the back of the line, and we just go through that through everybody in the line. Okay? Even if I make the line smaller and I get another coach over here, we have two lines going at the same time sort of thing, in order to get more repetition, it's still unrealistic because there's no tactical decision making. There's no cues for me to look for as a player to recognize, well, how is it that this has been set up that a pass is coming and I should run onto that ball for a shot on goal? As opposed to, if I'm teaching shooting, I might do things like a multiple goal game in a 4 versus 4 environment. I might do a 6-a-side game, perhaps again with maybe 4 goals but of different sizes, so that the different sizes require different accuracy or different types of shots on goal, sort of an approach. So it's by putting that into either a numbers even or an uneven number. So maybe it's 4 versus 4 plus 2 neutral players. So the attack is always up, so they have better chances of getting shots on goal because they always have 2 extra players, those 2 neutral players. But that puts it into a competitive environment. But I also have to work out within my group of 4 cooperation in order to be able to set up shots on goal. So by using game-like activities, I can begin to teach competitiveness to my players. It's competitiveness that gives me that foundation for that winning mentality. So competitiveness at under 8 could be me competing against myself as opposed to a teammate or an opponent. It could be juggling. Okay? What's your record in juggling? Or how many cones can you dribble around in 15 seconds? Now, can you beat your record? And this time, if you got 10, this time, see if you can get more than 10. It could be in a competition, let's say under 8, where we're beginning to mentally be ready to compete a little bit more against other groups and measure and challenge ourselves in other groups. I've done things like, I'm going to set up a little, maybe I'm going to set up a little slalom dribble relay. That's a group competition. And I've got the kids divided into 3 groups. Well, now it's a race, okay, as to who can get through your whole group first. And I do things like at under 10 on up. All right, we're going to play a little 3-a-side game, and we're playing, we're playing first team to 3 goals, okay, wins, and the losing team has to sing the Barney song. Well, at 10, that's an issue. Okay, you have to sing the Barney song out loud to the other group. Okay, competition. It might be, okay, you have 2 groups or 3 groups in the same space with cones set up as gates so that there's gaps between them. All right, you've got 30 seconds in your team to see how many passes can you get through how many different gates in 30 seconds. Count, okay? You're going to have to count. So that at the end it's measurable. So for under 10s, I give them something that there's a concrete objective. There's something that they can count. Number of goals, number of passes, number of tackles made, these sort of things. That begins to make it competitive. Either as an individual, pairs, a group, this sort of thing. Right? So the biggest piece right away, coaches, is if you're doing it, I don't know what you're doing in your training sessions for sure, but if you're doing more drills than game-like activities, move over to the game-like activities. It'll enhance your players in a number of different ways. And then part of it is just talking to the kids and beginning to instill some of the concepts, some of the ideas of, particularly at the end of matches. My 2 big questions to kids at the end of matches. 1, did you have fun? 2, did you try your best?